From Peter Sellers in The Party to Mickey Rooney in Breakfast at Tiffany's, Hollywood has long cast big-name white actors in roles where they play characters of a different race. It's called whitewashing, and there are growing calls for it to end. Just recently, Ridley Scott faced criticism for casting white actress Mackenzie Davis to play a Korean character in The Martian. Joining us to discuss whitewashing is Michael Lay of racebending.com, an advocacy website for underrepresented groups in film. It's great to have you with us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Why do you think these calls for change are growing louder, Michael?
I think really it's about a lot of things. There's been increasing notice that Hollywood has a long decades history of whitewashing, and especially with the internet, fans are able to express their displeasure and their distaste for that kind of practice.
You know, it's interesting, too, because it's long been said in the industry that, say, maybe, black films, so-called black films with black people in the lead or minorities in the lead just don't make money, that they're unproven. And then Straight Outta Compton comes along, The Best Man Holiday comes along, The Perfect Guy comes along, and they open #1 in the box office and they have staying power.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And it's not actually a new thing that black actors are able to lead movies. If you look at recent history, Will Smith is probably the biggest box office star in the last decade or so, the last couple decades. And I think that really Hollywood looked at actors who were successful like that, actors of color who were successful, and thought of them as exceptions rather than the rule. And I think that speaks to biases that are implicit in the Hollywood system.
And it speaks to the decision makers in the system.
Sure, absolutely.
So what about, other groups? Maybe Hollywood is starting to understand that black actors can lead films and those films can make money. But when you look at, Asians, South Asians, indigenous actors, it's a sad situation.
Absolutely. If you look at the numbers, then the number of films released with people of color in the lead is incredibly small compared to the actual diversity of America, Canada, countries like that. And I think that while Hollywood film has not been very successful recently in terms of reflecting the modern demographics, television is increasingly a place where you can find diversity, and you can find that audiences across the nation, across Western audiences, are happy to tune in and see performers like John Cho, like Aziz Ansari, headline shows, or at least be part of the ensemble cast.
What do you think is going to precipitate this change? Is it a matter of people who are making decisions just wanting to cast people that look like them?
I think it's a matter of the bottom line. The most important color in Hollywood is green, of course. And I think
look how much Compton made.
Of course, yeah. So as you have more success in films like that, in films with performers of color, with leads of color, then I think Hollywood will slowly start to change. What's unfortunate is that Hollywood is such a conservative organization as a whole. They really want to pump out movies on formula, and that's why we have more sequels as a proportion of films being released than ever, because rather than going out on a limb, quote unquote, then they want to go with something that they believe will make money. And so it becomes a chicken and egg problem where they're unwilling to go out on a limb with non-white actors and continue to cultivate no-name white actors into A-listers. If you look at performers like Bradley Cooper, he didn't start out as an A-lister, but he has the look that Hollywood is searching for, and they cultivate him into an A-list performer. They need to do that same thing with minority actors, because there are tons of talented minority actors out there, tons of minority actors who are successful in film, who could, successful in television, who could potentially make the transition to film. And I think that as we see more of those actors headline their own shows, we'll start to see Hollywood cultivate them into mainstream film.
Yeah, and Bradley Cooper is a very, very talented guy, but Bradley Cooper is also allowed to fail and keep going.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you look at white actors who fit the part in terms of the look and the demographic, Hollywood is more willing to try and try again. Whereas I think that if Aziz Ansari were to get his own film, if John Cho were allowed to headline his own film besides the Harold and Kumar series, I think that very much it would be the one chance that actor would get in Hollywood film. Yeah.
Pleasure to chat with you, Michael. Thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you very much for having me.